Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and this evening we'll have a look at the latest from the live radar. Then we'll go through the GFS, the GM, the ECMWF and the GFS Ensembles, and we'll finish up having a look at the UKMO office run as well. Got a lot of unsettled and mild conditions coming up over the next week. Beyond that, into the start of November, we are seeing signals now that we could be seeing some quite cold weather. It has increased in likelihood since yesterday. We'll have a look at the ensembles towards the end of the video. And the majority now are going for pretty chilly conditions, a good 5 degrees potentially below average. Now, it's not cold enough really for widespread snow or anything, but definitely potentially in some northern areas, especially over some higher ground, and it could give some much cooler conditions to start November. So if you do enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. So we do now have a look at the live radar. You can see we've got southwesterly winds, low pressure in control, and we've just got batches of moisture bringing in heavy rain at times. We had a cold front spread through, and that sort of fizzled away as it heads out into the North Sea. And behind, we've just seen areas of showers. We've got showers moving through London, through South Wales, some in northern England, towards the Scottish borders, and there's some quite heavy showers setting up in lines, potentially some maybe thunder in this, some maybe hail, some really quite heavy rain over some Scottish mountains in the north and the west, and then again another smattering of showers over Ireland and Northern Ireland as well. And this sort of conditions we're going to be seeing quite a lot over the next week. Even when we don't see weather fronts like we haven't really seen today, apart from this morning, or early this morning, we're going to be seeing a lot of showers around. So do keep in mind, even if the forecast is not for heavy rain all day, there is always the chance of seeing some of these showers pop up, and you can see some of these showers, like the one down towards North London, is very, very isolated. There is not a lot of rain in and around it, but if you are under it, it's going to be quite miserable with light to moderate rain. So if you see on the latest GFS, you can see we've got low pressure bringing in west to southwesterly winds with the centre of the low over towards Iceland, with a lot of unsettled conditions coming in. I must point out before we do run through this GFS run, because I've had a look at the ensembles already, is an outlier from around day 10 onwards, in terms of this is actually a mild GFS run, whereas we'll have a look at the GM and the ECMWF in a minute, and the GFS ensembles, and they're all going colder from day 10, so do keep that in mind. So at the moment we do bring in westerly winds, a lot of low pressure coming out of Greenland, sitting just to our north and west, spiralling in small lows, weather fronts, and some quite significant conditions at time, but it's also going to be reasonably mild, especially in the south, where we do have warmer air wafting up from the mid-Atlantic. Beyond that, dissimilar to what we're going to see in the other runs, we sort of don't get this ridging up towards Greenland. We see a brief ridge, and for a time we do get some northerly winds, but it sort of flattens away. We see a big power up in the polar vortex in the troposphere, with flat westerly winds, things staying mild and pretty unsettled in the north, a little bit more settled in the south. Towards right at the end of the run, it does go a little bit more blocked with high pressure trying to push up further northwards, but it doesn't go anywhere near as cold as it was showing yesterday. But as I said, this is an outlier run. This is on the warmer end of the ensembles. And as I'll show you in a minute with the other runs from day 10, they have very big differences, with a lot more ridging up towards Greenland. So we do now have a look at the latest from the GEM run. You can see, again, very similar to the GFS, westerly winds, southwesterly winds over the next 5 to 7 days. And then, as we head towards the next weekend for Halloween, we see high pressure ridging up towards northern Canada, low pressure, a trough just sits over the UK, very, very unsettled. But what this also does is it starts to bring in colder air from the north. With this ridging up towards Greenland, it brings in our general airflow in from the north. And right towards the end of the run, even though we have a bit of mild air still in the south, generally most of the UK is quite cold, and we are starting to pull in some colder air on this northwesterly wind. Now, there isn't that much cold air still available to us over the north, so it's not going to be an absolute Arctic blast. But if we carried on this pattern, we shifted this low pressure a little bit further eastwards, we would really start to pull in a pretty chilly northerly wind. Really quite unsettled here. And couldn't rule out seeing some snow over some of the northern hills, and even into northern England at times as well. even to moderate hills across Scotland and Northern England, when we do see sort of the temperature fall overnight and the freezing level drop as well. So we'll have to see exactly what happens with this, but very, very different to the GFS run, and this is what we're seeing on a lot of the operational runs and the ensembles. So if we do have a look at the ECMWF, we'll have a look at the midnight run first, as the 12Z hasn't quite come out, but we'll have a look at that at the end. You can see west to southwesterly winds, and then we see that trough just sit over us for Halloween weekend, and then right towards the end of the run, we see ridging to our north, up towards Greenland, and we are pulling in northerly winds. A pretty chilly land mass takes over, not massively cold, but a good 2 to 4 degrees cold than average, and we are starting to pull in northerly winds. Now if we have a look at the midday run, you can see again southwesterly winds at the moment, and then as we head to 192 hours, we do see that low that towards the Halloween weekend just sing over top of us, and again ridging up towards Greenland, and we will be pulling in a northerly flow if we ran this on another day or so. So both the ECMWF and the GM are going for a similar pattern, with this trough sitting over the top of us, bringing in northerly airflow, whereas the GFS goes a lot more flat and westerly. So very bizarre, really, with this massive disparity between the models. They're only really sort of day 7 to day 10 time frame. But at this stage, I very much would sort of go with the scenario from the GM and the ECMWF, simply really because it's what the ensembles go for as well. So if I do show you the ensembles, if we first have a look at London at 850 HPA temperature and precipitation, you can see at the moment up and down, we've got a cold front coming through at the moment with cold air coming in, and then we see a big warm up as southwesterly winds take over. Not too much precipitation in the south, it's mainly concentrated further northwards and westwards. Really quite warm temperatures at times, so else we could be seeing temperature get into the mid to high teens. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye really what happens with that, because we could be seeing some decently pleasant weather potentially at times. So beyond that, you can see temperatures stay around, or maybe just a touch above average, and we see a lot of precipitation in and around as well towards the Halloween weekend. So it does look like it's going to be mild, but could be quite wet for Halloween, or the Halloween weekend, let's just say 30th and 31st. Beyond that, temperatures start to drop, and we see the colder than average conditions come in for around the 3rd to the 7th of November. Most going below 0 degrees at 850 HPA. The average of all of the ensembles going below, and a few are going down to -5. Now you can see the operational run is with a number of outliers, maybe 4 or 5, going up to around average or above, sort of the mean from 1981 to 2010. Not massively mild, but well above the mean, a good 5 degrees above the mean for what we're seeing across the ensembles. So we can't discount it, of course, because it is an ensemble run, and at this stage, any of these ensemble runs can come off. It's just at this stage, the likely scenario is for these colder runs. Right in the longer term, towards sort of the 7th, 8th, 9th of November, it's still looking colder than average, but a bit more scatter appearing, and still some really quite cold runs. And if you don't know exactly sort of specifics for snow, for example, I may do a video about that over the next maybe 3 or 4 weeks as we head into the winter season, because a lot of people do sometimes ask what is the parameters for snow. Sometimes I'd say, not cold enough air mass, for example. Now, generally, when we have a look at 850 HPA, I'd say -5 and below. But again, all depends from wind directions. From a northerly airflow, -5, or northerly or easterly airflow, it's likely to be falling snow, potentially even warmer than -5. But in a westerly flow, we can even get down to sort of -7, -8 degrees 850 HPA, and it still being sort of sleety or rain, simply because of some air mass coming in off the Atlantic, which at the surface is warmer, even though up in the atmosphere it's quite cold. So I might do a specific video on that over the coming weeks, so do stay tuned for that. But at this stage, there is the potential, giving it a northerly direction of the air, it could be seeing some snow maybe for a few spots if we did get the coldest ensemble members come off. If we have a look at Glasgow, you can see up and down over the next few days. Below average at the moment, then going well above average. A lot of precipitation though around. Does look very, very unsettled over the next few weeks. Beyond that, temperatures stay around average, then around, again, 3rd, 4th, 5th November, drop well below average, good 5 degrees below average, down to around -3, -4. The majority going down there, and again, you can see the operational run spiking up, being the warmest ensemble member on the 5th of November. So, again, That's why I said it is a warmer outlier. There are some that are going very cold, where we do get a direct northerly going down to potentially sort of -8, -9, -10 degrees at 50 HPA, and that would potentially even bring snow for a time to low-lying areas. Now, these are the most extreme runs showing this, but just showing the potential is there with this synoptic pattern, which is looking more and more likely to come off. At this stage, though, I would probably say for Scotland, -5 is probably the coldest we'll get in terms of upper air temperatures, which is well cold enough to get snow over hills and mountains, potentially to low-lying areas of frost, and maybe a few flakes overnight. But remember, it is early November, so we really do need extreme synoptics to get anything very, very cold. At this stage, it's just looking colder than average, with the potential of seeing a little bit of winteriness here or there. But it does look very, very unsettled. So one thing I can rule out over the next few weeks is high pressure, especially in the north, really isn't going to be around. Maybe at times in the south we could see brief ridges and drier weather, but it's looking unsettled for pretty much everyone across the British Isles over the next few weeks. That's one thing I can say for certain. If we do finally have a look at the UK Met Office run, we'll have a look at precipitation and temperature. You can see this afternoon the heavy rain pushing in from the west in northern Scotland and western Scotland, sort of forming into showery lines. Beyond that, we just see generally quite a few showers around through tomorrow. Unsettled as well, with a lot of showers generally. And then more rain pushes in for sort of early hours of Tuesday. Another weather front pushes in, especially in the north. For the south, not as much. And then again, another big weather front pushes through for early hours of Wednesday, spreading through all areas, stalling a little bit in the southwest. Could be seeing a bit of quite high rainfall totals there. And again, just a lot of heavy rain and showers, especially through as that low eventually comes through. And then again, we'll have to watch Thursday into Friday, potentially. Another one of these small low-pressure systems coming up from the southwest could bring a lot of heavy rain at times in the south. Again, the position of this is likely to change as we head on for the next few days, but keep an eye out for later this week, and it does look very, very unsettled, maybe Thursday into Friday, with a lot of heavy rain potentially about. If we do finally have a look at the 2-metre max temperature, you can see across Sunday afternoon, 13, 14 degrees, potentially pretty decent. And then overnight tonight, it is looking reasonably mild, 10, 11 degrees, as we do have warm air starting to push in from the southwest. For Monday afternoon, maybe 15, 16 degrees in the east, but for areas seeing more rain and cloud, again, temperature is going to be held back, and over some of the Scottish hills, only 4, 5, 6 degrees. For early hours of Tuesday, maybe 7, 8, 9 degrees, but nothing amazing. And then by Tuesday afternoon, it could be pretty mild in the south, 15, 16 degrees across Ireland as well, 15, 16, 17 degrees as well. Feeling pretty decent if we do see some drier weather. For Thursday afternoon, could be 16, 17 degrees, but as we saw with the precipitation charts, it could be accompanied by a lot of heavy rain at times, especially in the south and the west. And then Friday could still be quite mild, maybe 16, 17 degrees, but colder air is starting to push in from the west behind that cold front that is pushing through, again, bringing quite heavy rain with it. So it's looking very unsettled over the next week or so, but as we head forward towards the first few days of November, the signs of something colder is still looking increasingly likely, and we could be seeing some more sustained cold weather, but it is looking, regardless of what air mass we do have, which is still kind of up in the air. That's the one thing that we do need to keep an eye out on, is air masses. But at this stage, it is looking unsettled regardless of what air mass, whether it's a southwesterly flow or whether it is a northerly flow that is looking likely for the start of November. It's going to be unsettled, and it could be quite miserable at times. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.